My fiancée secretly invited her ex to our wedding, so I made a shocking decision left everyone in shock. Hey Reddit. My wedding was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Everything was planned to perfection, months of preparation, countless hours of picking the right venue, the right food, the right everything. My fiancée, Emily, and I had been together for 4 years, and I truly believed she was the one. She was kind, beautiful, and always had this way of making even the worst days seem a little brighter. But all of that shattered the moment I found out she had secretly invited her ex to our wedding. And the worst part? She didn't even think it was a big deal. It all started when I overheard her on the phone one evening. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but when you hear your fiancé say, "I can't wait to see you at the wedding, it'll mean so much to me," it's hard to ignore. My stomach dropped. I immediately knew something was off because the way she spoke sounded way too personal, too intimate. My gut told me something was wrong. So, I waited until she got off the phone and casually asked, "Hey, who are you talking to?" She hesitated. That was my second red flag. Emily was never the type to hide things from me, at least, that's what I thought. But in that moment, her eyes shifted slightly, her fingers tapped against the countertop, and she let out a short laugh before saying, "Oh, just an old friend." An old friend. I knew better. I pressed further, asking who exactly this old friend was, and that's when she sighed, almost annoyed that I was even questioning her. "It's just Daniel," she said. "No big deal." Daniel. Her ex. The one she dated for almost 5 years before me. The one she once described as the love of her life before their messy breakup. The same guy who, from what I knew, had a history of trying to win her back even after she moved on with me. And now, he was invited to our wedding? I tried to stay calm, but inside, I was fuming. "Why is he coming to our wedding?" I asked, my voice tighter than I intended. Emily rolled her eyes like I was overreacting. "Because we're still friends," she said. "He's a part of my past, but he's also a part of my life. I don't see the big deal." The big deal? The big deal was that she had made this decision without even consulting me. The big deal was that she still talked to him enough to invite him to one of the most important days of our lives. The big deal was that, deep down, I knew this wasn't just about friendship. I asked her when she even invited him. That's when the next bomb dropped. She had invited him weeks ago, long before we even finalized the guest list together. She had hidden it from me. If I hadn't overheard that phone call, I wouldn't have even known until I saw him standing there, watching as I said my vows to her. That thought alone made my blood boil. I told her, straight up, that I wasn't okay with it. That it felt disrespectful, and that having an ex, especially one she had such a deep history with, at our wedding was crossing a line. I expected her to understand, to at least acknowledge why I was upset. Instead, she got defensive. "You're being insecure," she said, crossing her arms. "Daniel isn't a threat to you, and if you trusted me, this wouldn't even be an issue." That was when I knew this wasn't just about an invitation. This was about respect. About honesty. About the fact that my own fiancé didn't seem to care how I felt about something that should have been a mutual decision. I walked away that night, needing space to think. But the more I thought about it, the worse it got. I imagined standing at the altar, knowing that somewhere in the crowd, her ex was watching. I imagined the whispers, the tension, the way it would taint what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. I realized something that night. If Emily truly respected me, she would have never put me in this position. She would have never invited him without talking to me first. And she definitely wouldn't have dismissed my feelings when I told her how much it bothered me. So, I made a decision. The next morning, I told her the wedding was off. At first, she laughed, like I was joking. When she realized I wasn't, the color drained from her face. "You're seriously calling off our wedding over this?" she asked, her voice shaking. "No," I said. "I'm calling it off because you don't respect me. Because you made a huge decision without me, and when I told you how much it hurt, you brushed it off like it didn't matter." She tried to argue, tried to say that I was being dramatic, but I had already made up my mind. This wasn't about Daniel anymore. This was about trust. And in that moment, I knew, I couldn't marry someone I didn't trust. The fallout was brutal. Her family was furious with me. Friends took sides. Some people thought I overreacted, while others said they would have done the exact same thing. Emily begged me to reconsider, even saying she'd uninvite him if that's what it took. But it was too late. The damage was done. I had seen a side of her I couldn't unsee. A side that showed me exactly how much, or how little, my feelings mattered to her. The wedding never happened. Instead of spending the day saying I do, I spent it alone, reflecting on how close I had come to making the biggest mistake of my life. Looking back, I don't regret my decision. Because if someone truly loves and respects you, they wouldn't put you in a situation where you have to question it in the first place.